Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's Friday morning. My apologies, of course, from when you have children, you have unexpected things that go on. So my deepest apology, of course, to my listening audience, as well as to Steve, because obviously he's gracious enough to accommodate an interview this morning, because we all know he's going to be at Wildwood Film Festival later today. So I'm very, very grateful to that. I just want to do a couple quick announcements to everybody, because I've been off air for a while, and then we'll get going to talking to Steve, I should say. God, you can tell it's an early morning show. Number one, want to remind everybody, my particular film festival, New York City-based Art is Alive Film Festival, still currently taking submissions. Short films are $25, and that's up to 90 minutes for either shorts or feature films. I'm accepting screenplays this year once again, and that's $20 up to 110 pages. And then, of course, we're doing any and all youth films, which are $10. This year, I'm also going to be having a music video segment that's already filled, of course. So, folks, if you want to go ahead and submit to the festival, you have up until April 8th. www.filmfreeway.com, Art is Alive Film Festival. Otherwise, you can go to the website itself, artisalivefilmfestival.yolasite.com, and go ahead and submit there for the festival. Number two, a couple quick updates. Obviously, if you've been following me on social media, you know that my short film, A Lifesaver, is literally an editing process. I am told that we have a rough cut at the moment. We've just incorporated music. So my hope is that by the end of April, we're going to start shopping around for film festival places, literally do a couple screenings. I'm super, super excited about this. So stay tuned for developments on that. 100 Looks of Love is going to be completed and finished, at least the filming component, at the end of April, and our hope is, of course, to watch it at my film festival in July for the very first time. And then, as you know, we're doing 100 public screenings. Yes, I know, I'm absolutely crazy. But yes, we're going to try to do that. So, super excited about the film side of things, the film festival side of things. Obviously, you guys know that I'm on tour with that wonderful gentleman, Michael Gentili, who runs MG Frocks. So our next stop, if I'm not mistaken, is we're going to be at the Garden State Film Festival next weekend. Obviously, Michael's a bona fide actor, so who doesn't want to go to the festivals, right? So if you want to catch us on the 30th and the 31st, we'll be at Garden State Film Festival. We will be in Florida the week after, Orlando, Florida, to be exact, on April 6th. We will be at the NAB convention April 9th through the 11th, and then, of course, we will be at the Kids Fashion Week. And look for details. I have to find the specifics on which locations, but I know the 13th and the 14th we're participating in both, and so very grateful to be doing all these gigs. And, of course, to those of you that haven't heard of MG Frocks, shame on you, because you all should know what MG Frocks is. So go ahead and check out Facebook. It's obviously M and G, 2 letters, Frocks, and then www.mgfrocks.com. So without further ado, you're probably tired of listening to me. Let's get Steve on the line and let's hear all about this wonderful production that he's put together. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Hey, I'm well. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing okay, actually. This is a rarity. I don't do morning shows, so I'm super excited about this. I'm like, no one ever comes on my show because I'm kind of hateful in the morning, but we're going to have a great show. It's going to be wonderful. And I cannot thank you enough for doing this. Well, I'm very honest with my followers. I'm like, oh, my God, no one talks to me in the morning. I'm like so unpleasant. But I was excited about this movie, and I'm excited about talking to you. I had no idea who you were and how big of a deal you are. You're huge, huge.
No, I don't know about that.
You're a big deal.
I'll tell you, it's one of those things where, like, our film on Betty White, it's all about her. Trust me, it's like all I can do is not screw it up. That's really the goal of this project. Is when we started this, like someone said to us, hey, she's America's sweetheart. Please don't screw this one up. So,
Sure.
So we're just humbled to be able to tell Betty White's story.
Oh, absolutely. I imagine so. I want to kind of backtrack a little bit because obviously, of course, most people don't know that you had a history before you started making movies or being on television, etc. So most of us who are in the entertainment field usually have had a love affair with movies or a love affair with Hollywood, etc. So tell me a bit about what made you want to do films in the first place. And because you're from Wisconsin, talk a bit about how hard it was to kind of establish yourself. Because most of us, I go back and forth between here and New York. New York and Los Angeles, are great hubs for creativity and for opportunity. But Wisconsin's still kind of blooming. You know what I'm saying? So talk a bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, thanks. Great question. We actually started this quest about 25 years ago that we just saw, like, television was starting to age, and that whole generation of people that started television, the early pioneers, if you will, like Milton Berle and Lucy and, Carol Burnett and all these early people were at that age where, someone had to capture that history. And we kind of took it upon ourselves to be the ones to go back and kind of really start this quest 25 years ago of just interviewing all these pioneers. And I think over the years we've amassed about 400 television interviews from this era of television. It's something we kind of all grew up with, I guess, from my era.
Right.
And we just didn't see anybody really kind of doing this. So we took it upon ourselves to be the ones.
Cool as that. Well, and the other thing, too, is we talk about this a lot. I'm a huge fan of black and white, so I was all excited when I'm like, oh, my God, he did Betty White, and there's black and white. Huge fan of Chaplin, huge fan of that era. So my question to you as a fellow filmmaker is, do you still see shades of that, of the old Hollywood? Do you know what I mean by that? Some of those older generations, and it was so classic back then. And we see Hollywood now. I was just in L.A. not so long ago, and sure, it's still exciting. It's still got some of that stuff. But do you kind of feel like you're recreating the old Hollywood by doing some of these projects? Because I can clearly see it. It's exciting to go back and see all of this stuff. Do you feel that some of that still exists? Because I'm so afraid we're losing a lot of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally understand it. Yeah, I guess, today we see this, like, river of media, 1,000 channels wide, if you will, and, whether it's a Netflix or Amazon and all the cable outlets. But our idea was kind of going to the headwaters and kind of see where this all kind of began and who were those people that kind of started this. And I guess I truly believe we all build upon the people that have gone before. And I think, like, I still see shades of Lucille Ball in today's television or today's media or, the greats, if you will. So, and even Betty, truly, like, she was the first woman, really, the first woman producer, the first woman to be nominated for, like, an Emmy. So Betty, in a sense, also was kind of one of those firsts, and I think we all are better for it.
Sure, absolutely, without a doubt. And the interesting part about this is you do documentary-style things, which I, of course, I'm delving into that now for the first time. But I've been a professional journalist for a long time. I know that you have as well. So tell me something. What excites you more? Is it more about putting together the product, meaning literally writing out these questions, formulating where you're going to go with this, or actually being a part in orchestrating the filming? Because some filmmakers just love being in front of the camera and telling everyone what to do, et cetera. Or are you more all about putting together the process, the actual literal questions, et cetera? Are you 100% hands-on with all that? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's something about the joy of being on location and being there when it's being filmed. Not much of the guy to be in front of the camera. I love that 6 feet behind the camera feeling. But sure. And I think also, like, one thing we really try to pride ourselves in is the ability to distribute a project and a product. And I think a lot of times filmmakers are so enamored by the process that, how do we get our wares out now? How do we make a living doing this? How does an audience see our project? And that's something we really spent a lot of time on. I probably spend 70% of my time worrying about the distribution and the business aspect of the project in addition to just making the film.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. And then when you're going ahead and going through the process of this, because I know, for instance, I had read that this particular project took you over 10 years to finish. One of the things that we talk about a lot in the film industry is having patience and persistence, because oftentimes filmmakers get excited, they're on set, and they're like, we're making a movie, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's going to be done tomorrow, and it's like, we all know it doesn't get done tomorrow. So I have to ask you that question. I mean, after 5 years, I'd be pulling my hair out, let alone 10 years. So what kept you going on this? I mean, and obviously the subject itself is beyond fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we did other projects between that 10-year spans in a sense. We did our first interview with her. We were working on a film, Women in Comedy, and Betty was one of the subjects, so we interviewed her for it along with a sea of other people. And we just kind of got enamored by Betty and just kind of sequentially kind of followed her over the last 10 years in her career. And honestly, it was kind of amazing. She's kind of become a pop icon, if you will, a little bit with, the Snickers commercial and hosting SNL and those kind of things in the last maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So it was more of, we just saw the arc of the story, and it did take a while to do, no doubt about it. We did other projects along the way, but we always kind of came back to Betty. So that was kind of the making of Betty.
Oh, I imagine so. And of course, like I said, oftentimes this process, just only because I have a lot of filmmakers that listen to this show, tell me one thing that you would advise to them if they are looking to do something such as this, if they're interviewing more of a high-profile person, or if they're getting involved in something that you just know is going to take a significant amount of time? What is one thing you'd tell them to remember, or a piece of advice you could give them, because obviously we all get discouraged and we're like, oh, my God, this movie is never going to get done. What would you say to them, those filmmakers, if they were here now? How would you advise them?
First of all, we often get projects sent to us, and we are asked for advice. And first of all, I truly champion someone that gets something done and gets something to be able to review. And a lot of people are always quick to criticize people like, oh, yeah, it's good, but, and I'm always like, you know what? You actually completed the task, which is huge in this world. Everyone has ideas, but someone that actually gets something done, I champion that first off. We also think of, like, when we kind of have a criteria list that we put together when we do a project, and one of them is we always think of, like, okay, who's the audience, and, where's the home for this? And we'll have people come to us, and it's like, oh, we think this is perfect for, like Discovery Channel, or this is perfect for HBO. And I'm like, do you watch these channels? Because you know what they're going to buy and what they're purchasing by what's on their air today. And it's like, so we really kind of immerse ourselves in, okay, what is the outlet for this? Where's this going to go? And who's that audience? So I know if I'm creating something for PBS, I know the audience is a 64-year-old woman. That's what the audience is for PBS. So I'm always like, I try to learn the audience well if that's our destination.
Gotcha. Okay, I see what you mean. And then at some point in time, obviously, before you did this, I know that you had been familiarized in the field of doing corporate video work, obviously, because we all have those side things that we do. So I was curious to ask, because what I've heard most about is your film work. Do you still get time, or do you have inclination to still do the corporate side of things? How involved are you in that side of it?
Yeah, we have a side silo, if you will, of our company where we do corporate projects. We kind of pick and choose really kind of what we want to do in that space. But I think it's also a way to kind of stretch your legs in a different area. And we do see these projects as also like mini films. I mean, how do you tell the story, kind of the beginning, middle, and end? It always seems so simple, but it's always very complex. And so we still do some corporate work. And learn from it as well.
Okay, I gotcha. And I only bring that up because, of course, we have a whole other group of people that listen to my show that do corporate video sort of things all the time. So if we have people listening in now, are they able to approach you about this? Is it something you even have time for? Because God knows you probably have another huge project.
No, absolutely. I mean, and I'll tell you, I just I'm built for work in a sense. I really am. I mean, I love doing this kind of work. I'm just enamored by video and television, and so yeah, I'm always really, really fascinated too. And I also I know there's a lot of aspiring people that want to do films or want to do projects, and I think this is like really a golden age that we have right now in media, that there's so many outlets, so many opportunities, and I think also that equally means there's a need for content by people like us and your viewers and your listeners, that there's a place for them and there's outlets for them, that there's more than there ever has been.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just evolved so much, too. Like, obviously, the days of television nowadays, back in the day versus how it is now, such a different world, absolutely. Let's talk a bit about you being a TV photojournalist, because obviously I didn't realize this, folks, but both you and I have been on the Morning Blend before. Shocked me. I all of a sudden found you. I'm like, there he is. I've been on that show. I was on the Morning Blend like a year ago. Absolutely lovely show, folks. By the way, I cannot say enough about those ladies. Absolutely. Tiffany Ogle is a bomb. Yeah. Absolutely love her. Great interviewers, too. Very, very friendly, very, very punctual, and very professional set. I will tell you that. So I enjoyed my time there. Watched your interview. Absolutely loved it. So talk a bit about photojournalism. I just talked to a bunch of people the other day, and they were speaking about working in television and the various facets. So photojournalism is a little different, obviously, than my type of journalism. Tell us a bit about, give me one or two reasons, some of your accomplishments that you did back in the day, and when did you stop doing that?
Yeah, I actually worked at Channel 4 WTMJ, where Morning Blend is. And one of the places I worked, so I know the people very well there. And I'll tell you, like, everything I learned in the business pretty much came out of TV news and photojournalism, and the ability to deliver. We'd walk into meetings at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you'd have to have something on the air that night. And so, I mean, it really makes you very efficient and effective, first of all. And I also saw, like, every news story as a little 2-minute long movie, if you will. I have to,
Sure.
you know, the same principles you use in movie and storytelling are the same principles you use in TV news or journalism. So, so you just kind of like every day get a chance to hone your skill because it's a daily grind in news. And it's kind of that churn out a lot of media and learn how to be efficient. I also think I'm a better filmmaker because I learned to talk to people as we did in TV news. And you were put in multiple situations every single day, and you had to learn how to tell that story, how to thrive, how to work with the individuals that you're dealing with that day. So, I love that background. I love that training.
Well, and the other thing, too, is I'm thinking, because I won't lie to you, the minute I pick up a camera, I'm just stupid. I'm like, seriously, I have no technical ability whatsoever. So is it a bit different to tell the story on paper versus on a photo? You know what I'm talking about? Is it easier for you personally to capture it through a camera versus on paper?
Yeah, especially with, like, documentaries where, you know, we kind of map out kind of the direction that we want in a story. But often when you start filming, you quickly have to learn to adapt. And I think, you know, TV news taught me that you can't come up with the answer until you actually start the filming. And the Betty story was that as well. Like, we didn't know exactly who we were going to talk to. And, you know, we got great access to Betty. We would go to, like, her work. We went to her on location filming. We went with her at home, at play. You know, and so all those visuals kind of help drive the story that, you know, we can outline till we're blue in the face, but it's just one of those things where, you know, when you start filming, especially a documentary, that is, it all happens in the camera.
Oh, sure, absolutely, without a doubt. Now, I know to you folks that may not know this, of course, both of us are from Wisconsin. I know that you attended UW Oshkosh, and so tell me a bit about what keeps you in Wisconsin. Obviously, you're a native. Clearly, you're going to a Wisconsin-based film festival tonight to screen the movie. Tell us a bit about your background in terms of what keeps you here, and more importantly, obviously, we know you have a beautiful, lovely wife you've been with for a long time, and I always like to ask everybody who comes on the show, how does your partner accent you professionally and personally? Because I'm all about that whole little love story there, too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I appreciate that, too. Yeah, I mean, the ability to kind of, like, we also, my wife and I, we have 3 kids who are also, like, in the family business, if you will. So, it's amazing to find a partner that embraces the industry you're in and allows you the freedom and flexibility to kind of, like, work, you know, chaotic schedules at times. So, yeah, I'm really blessed to have that, I'll tell you. We have the ability, we built a television studio, if you will, in Milwaukee, and we have the ability to go to New York or Los Angeles, get work and bring it back and do it here where we just love where we're from. And we love kind of a Midwest perspective on a topic. And I think we can also economically do it more in our area than we could if we were based in L.A. or New York. And I think that makes it somewhat unique. And even when we go to L.A. and we're in meetings, we always get, you know, oh, you're cheesehead. And we don't shy away from that. We were meeting with one executive one day, and we actually literally had his face carved in a block of cheese. And we brought it to him and kind of played up the cheese head thing. And, you know, honestly, he'll never forget us, I don't think. And that was the beginning of a long relationship with this individual.
That's just wild to me. Well, the other thing, too, is oftentimes I think that most people that are from other cities, et cetera, don't realize that there are a whole lot of Wisconsin filmmakers, and big props to Madison filmmakers. I have to tell you, I know tons of people in Madison area. Obviously, of course, Appleton, where the Wildwood Film Festival is going on, there's tons of people. And so is your wife a creative as well in terms of is she in the same arena or completely different? Sometimes it's an opposite effect.
Totally different arena. And I think that's what makes it work so well, that, you know, we don't take our work home with us. You know what I mean? So that's what makes it so well. And I have 3 kids that are in Los Angeles now working in the industry. So
nice.
Which is also another, you know, and all like Wisconsin products, if you will. And you're right, there's this collection of people from Wisconsin that are in L.A., and they do get together every weekend to watch Packer games still, which is great. There's a couple Packer bars where everybody from Wisconsin kind of like corrals, and the industry is better for it.
Oh, absolutely. And it must be a little whirlwind to live with, hey, my husband did this documentary on this infamous literal living legend in the Hollywood community, and that has to be just very surreal for her. Like, oh my gosh, does she kind of take it in stride? Because I notice that people in entertainment, if you're both in entertainment, you get used to it. If one of you isn't, it's a bit surreal for them, isn't it? Or is she kind of on board and used to this by now?
No, she's a total balancing act. Like, they're not that big a deal. That's what she does for me, which is awesome. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, you know what? Don't get too puffed up about this. This is not that big a deal. So, which I greatly appreciate. So,
oh my gosh, that's cute. Very, very cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I have to share this story because when I was researching you, I read this, and I think this is so cool. This is a big lesson for the people that are listening in. This doesn't always happen, by the way, folks. One of the biggest things we talk about at festivals is how to make things bigger and better. And how do we do that? It all starts with things like financing. And as I read, you have taken out over the years multiple mortgages on your homes to be able to finance films. That's huge. Let me tell you why. Number one, that screams to me that you have a huge propensity and passion for what you do, because it's not everybody who's willing to put their actual home up for that. So that's going to be a bit scary and a bit crazy and a bit, what gets you to that point where you're like, because I know a lot of times we're all pretty ingenious about these things, but that's a scary risk, isn't it? So if somebody's listening right now, would you literally walk up to them and be like, you know what, just finance your house, it's all good? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's advice
radical.
I would give to. I'm not sure I'd give that advice today to people. You know what I mean? It is risky, and even like our first film, we did this first film in this space. It was called Pioneers of Prime Time, and it was kind of about the film about the early creators of television that came out of vaudeville and radio and started television. Television in the early days was pretty much radio with pictures. That's what television was. What people did in radio was what they did on television, except they stood in front of a camera and did the same bit. So we went back and interviewed all those early pioneers, and we went to national PBS and pitched the idea. We had a film cut, and we showed them the first few minutes of it. They loved it. They agreed to put it on the air but not pay us anything for the film. But if it did well, we would be greenlit for a series. So, I mean, talk about like the challenge of, first of all, financing a film by yourself, creating the film, going to a major network, getting on the air, but them not paying anything for it. And the risk continued with the airing of this program as a freebie, if you will, and with the risk of, if it does well, it becomes a series. So, yeah, and I think that was the era, too, that when I was starting, that the cost of the camera equipment, editing, everything was more expensive. Now you can pretty much cut everything at the kitchen table, but this was where, you were in edit facilities and sound mixing facilities, and the tools are easier today than they were when I started out. And so I'm not sure I'm a big fan of, investing everything in your life into a project, but that, I guess it maybe spoke to the stupid passion that I kind of had for this topic and the work. And I honestly thought once we get to an audience, we can find an audience for this. And I think, I'm blessed and thankful that we did.
It's amazing. And the other thing, too, is, folks, in case you don't know this, of course, he went ahead and turned around and has sold his product to PBS. And as we all know, we're very familiar with PBS. And clearly you obviously originally aired this documentary on PBS as well. So PBS is a big channel, and they have some seriously wonderful, meaningful, mainstream sort of products that they put on their network. So tell me something, and again, this is really for our listening audience as well. How do you get your foot in the front door as it relates to a big network like PBS? Because we're all trying to get to the Netflix of the world and the other things. So I think it's crucial that people understand that this is, first of all, it's not as easy as you may think it is. And then second of all, how do you continue that relationship with them? Because this wasn't just a one and done for you.
Yeah, I think we've done, 30, 40, maybe 50 hours of content for national PBS. And I mean, we've been really fortunate that we've had a long-standing relationship with them, and we're at the point where we can actually come up with an idea and pitch it directly to them without having to, create sizzle reels and that kind of stuff. But it is a challenge getting into the world of that pitch, if you will. I think today also, like, we are very careful to with deals in the industry there's a lot of rights now that you could have a streaming service be one avenue. Another avenue could be a TV broadcast. Another avenue could be home video. So I'm still an advocate of going to festivals where these people are at, whether it's a real screen event where the buyers are at, and getting a chance to meet them. And I think if it's possible for you to set up a meeting prior to them, email them, try to get 5 minutes of their time, and start to develop a relationship. That's what we did. We started going to real screen and events, and there's one in New York. I believe there's one in Los Angeles now, and really starting to meet people at these events.
Well, and the other thing, too, is, folks, get this. So he's had multiple Emmy nominations. Oh, my God, I'm still working my way to any kind of nomination. Thank you so much. So that's huge in and of itself right there, obviously. So being Emmy nominated, that puts you in a different caliber and a different crowd. I mean, and you seem extremely grounded. So make no mistake, I mean, no offense by that, and I'm certain that you are a lovely person. However, that has to put quite the expectation on you. Does that make sense? Meaning that, do you kind of feel like the bar has been set up much higher? Because when you get an Emmy league, it's like being an Oscar league. You know what I'm trying to say? So how do you maintain that sharpness? I mean, because that's got to be a bit of pressure for you, in a good way.
Yeah, I think when you're a filmmaker, you always feel like you're one film away from failure. At least that's the way I feel, that, we constantly want to try to improve and be better at what we've done. And yeah, I mean, we're grateful for the Emmy nominations. Honestly, I think it's more the series that's nominated than us. And the series is right down the main path of what television is about, kind of like looking at the stars that created television. So, I'm sharp enough to know that, the nomination is probably more for the people that are featured in the film than us as guys in the background. So, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, we are constantly, and I think the industry is really changing quickly. And, I was looking at the information from Sundance that how many films are accepted now at these festivals, but how many really get deals, how many get on the air. There's all of a sudden a tide, I think, that's changing in the industry, that there's more producers now, and it's getting more and more challenging just in the last few months of getting your content out. And I think that's kind of the constant challenge we all have.
Right, absolutely. Getting content out there is crucial. And, of course, distribution we talk about all the time, although now in the year 2019, there's so many more platforms for being able to distribute things, which is wonderful, and makes it easier for some of us, clearly. But that's huge, like I said. And not only that, that's a testament to the fact that the industry is saying, you know what, hey, bravo, you're doing an absolutely beautiful job with the work that you're doing. And, of course, like you said, Pioneers of Television, interviewing over 100 celebrities. So my biggest question is, how did you pick them? And more importantly, how hard are they to work with? You know what I mean? Because, and I don't mean hard in the sense of a negative way, meaning I won't lie to you. There's certain people that I interview that I still get nervous about. Like even today, I was nervous because I'm talking to a big deal right now. So I can only imagine what it's like when you have somebody like a Ryan Reynolds and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be working with this person. Didn't that just frighten you to tears? Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with the Betty film, I mean, it's really spectacular talent that we're dealing with, not because what we're doing is anything great. It's that Betty has such great relationships. And, you're sitting with a Tina Fey, or you're sitting with a Carl Reiner or a Ryan Reynolds. It really is somewhat intimidating. But, I mean, we go in well prepared. My colleague Mike, kind of a business colleague. I met him in college at Oshkosh, and we've been business partners ever since. He does an amazing job of research and going in well prepared. We know exactly kind of the areas to mine, if you will, and I think it's part of that is it's just really, really great research. And
sure.
And we'll sit down and we'll do several hours worth of interviews with individuals to try to get those moments that will help the film.
Sure. Absolutely. And not only that, like I said, I mean, it's just to have, what's your day job? Well, I go on and interview celebrities. How badass is that? I mean, you have, coolest job in the world. So do I, mind you, because I get celebrities on my show every day, but still, that's awesome. So before we, of course, talk about Betty White, the film itself, I want to ask about this, too. Another cool thing that you guys do, and I'm on board because I'm doing the same thing, which is you've produced and not only produced but distributed DVDs and videos and books on your documentaries. DVDs is something we talk about all the time, and so I want to get your take as a filmmaker. As far as producing DVDs that you sell, not everybody is keen on doing that in the year 2019. In fact, a lot of filmmakers are anti that, like, don't put my stuff on DVD format, etc. So where do you stand on that? Because I think that's a crucial thing to mention to our audience.
Yeah, it's certainly a form that is slowly dying, you know what I mean? I'm not sure it's ever going to completely go away, but it is certainly a medium that is dying. We do still offer DVDs with our projects. We find that they do still somewhat sell, and people still want them. I think people want to collect things from time to time. Sometimes collecting media is harder today than it was before, and
sure.
I've actually been in people's homes where I'll see the DVDs on the shelf, and they're still in their plastic case, and they're shrink wrapped, but they want to display them, but not. They haven't even opened them up, which I think is kind of interesting. So, I think there's a small portion of the audience that literally still wants the DVD. So we still do offer it, yes.
Oh, nice. Very, very nice. And do they do well? I'm curious about that because I'm thinking of the same thing as far as for my particular film, and I'm just wondering, in a festival setting, if they allow you to do that, is that the sort of format you're looking at, or are you looking at, let's put them in the red box, et cetera? You know what I'm saying? I know that's hard. But
yeah, I guess it depends on who your audience is, too. I think, a 20-something is probably not going to get the DVD or care about the DVD, where an older audience still has the DVD player in the house. So if you're dealing with a 60-year-old, they probably still have a DVD player. A 20-year-old does not, So I actually love that format still. I don't know why. I just, I kind of wish it was around more. I really do.
I agree with you, definitely, because even though it's still kind of old school, there's nothing like popping in a DVD. I just watched Holiday Inn last night at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, it's on a DVD, it's all black and white. Absolutely loved it, and it's another way to get your project out there. It doesn't always have to be on a TV screen or a theater screen, etc. So kudos to you on that one. See what I mean? You're a big deal. A lot of major accomplishments here. Now, before we talk about the film, we want to obviously say that you collaborate with Mike. Is it Trinkline? I want to make sure I say his name the right way. I'm sorry, Mike. Trinkline. Okay, yes. Yeah. And you formulated your company with him back in 1996, and obviously he worked with you on this project. So, of course, we always like to give due to everybody. So tell your audience a bit about Mike and how you ended up working with him and what a wonderful relationship you've established over the years, because it's phenomenal.
Yeah, we were actually college students at Oshkosh, and a professor threw us together for a college project. And it just is one of these yin and yang kind of things that we just work together really, really well. And we both have skill sets that are very different but mesh well together. And honestly, it's been, 20-plus years and almost 30 years now. And it just has been really amazing. And we both understand the industry well, approach topics a little differently, which is great. And it's been just amazing. It really has been an amazing partnership.
Oh, I imagine so, definitely. And it's nice to be able to have that partner that you trust, that you've known for quite some time, because filmmaking can be a process of trust. You really need to know all the arms and the legs and the hands that are all involved with the project. And, folks, in case you don't know, the name of the film that we're talking about is called Betty White, First Lady of Television. Now, I'm curious, this is a technical question. When I first got the information on this, it was listed as a 51-minute film, but indeed it is not. It's actually an hour and 4 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, that's great. We have several different versions of it. We have two versions, one like a theatrical version, if you will, and one is kind of built for a broadcast version. So there are multiple versions of it. And again, that goes to that whole marketing aspect where we wanted to make the film, we wanted elements in it that extended it beyond the broadcast time, if you will. So that's why there's like two different versions, if you will. So sometimes with television, or broadcast, we kind of feel like, oh, man, we got to cut stuff just for time. Well, with the theatrical version, we didn't have to cut for time.
I gotcha. Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk a bit about this. For those of you that may not know, these are some fun facts I learned about Betty White because of the fact that I actually did watch the film. Well, first of all, she is, at this point, 97 years young, and this just blows my mind away. How old was she when you first started doing the filming?
It was probably 10 or maybe almost 12 years ago when we did the first interview with her.
Okay. I gotcha. So in her 80s, of course, obviously.
Yes.
Can you believe that she's she's single, and obviously I know, of course, you spoke about, and we'll get into that in a moment with her husband, Alan Ludden, of course, but she's single, and it just cracks me up that she's single. I'm like, that is just too much pleasantry all in one person to be single. Am I wrong here? Because I imagine she must be a delight from second. Oh, my God.
She is, and she's really kind of playful, and she's got a quirky, funny sense of humor, and, her love of her life was Alan Ludden, and still is today. Right. Alan Ludden, who is actually from Wisconsin, is a cheesehead, and and she talks about him, and when she talks about him, she gets that kind of like misty look in her eye, and you see true love when you see her.
Oh, my gosh. And I was just going to mention that. So since you brought it up, I'll bring it up. That's one of the things, folks, that stood out to me. The fact that she talks about how they had such a huge crush on one another. And I watched this, and I'll be the first to admit that I have the same sort of crush on someone in my life. And I feel myself looking at him the exact same way. And it is so lovely the way she speaks about him, because she gives the impression that she's not really empty without him. I mean, she longs and misses him, but she's very content. You know what I mean? He gave her this whole world,
absolutely.
And it's neat. And I won't give away the one neat little thing that she shares, but the love story and her. She's a feisty little thing. She really held her ground with him for a little while. That little story that she tells. Oh, it's so cute, and it's just it blew my mind away. So number one, folks, you should see the movie because it talks about her love story. It's her telling her own love story. And then some of the other people that give commentary talk about the two of them together, which I think is so lovely. The second thing is that her assistant, is she still working with her? She was lovely, too, within the film.
Yeah, Kirsten.
Those scenes.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of like we maybe took a little side turn where Kirsten is the assistant to Betty, her executive assistant. And Kirsten is the one that's closest to Betty. She works with her every single day and really is there every day at work and knows her so well. So we decided to kind of include the assistant in the interviews, which is kind of like a behind-the-scenes person you normally don't see, but we thought it was a value to share with that. Half step back on Alan. Alan Ludden is Betty's husband we're talking about. Alan Ludden was the host of Password, and Betty found herself going back and forth from L.A. to New York. And this was black and white television era. And I think the audience saw the two of them falling in love on the show before Betty or Alan actually probably knew it. And I think it's kind of really cute that Betty kept doing this Password show because she loved the game. And quickly the audience started seeing them kind of, the sparks fly between the two of them. And the two of them fell in love pretty much on camera. And I think that's and we have some clips from that era of the two kind of bantering back and forth in a playful way, and you can kind of see the beginning of their relationship.
It's so sweet, absolutely, like where he leans over, or they talked about home, that was the word for it, and he said, Mrs. Ludden, I'll take you home. It was the cutest little thing. So I have to tell you, for those of you that have a little soft spot for romance, I guarantee you're going to love that whole little segment. Now, I've watched the movie a few different times, so I want to ask this question, unless I missed it. She doesn't talk about the honorary award for being mayor of Hollywood, does she? Did I miss that? Because I wanted to ask you about that. Does she speak about that at all? Because that's kind of a cool thing, isn't it?
It is cool. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the hardest thing was, she's had, so this year is her 80th year in television, in entertainment. Right. And so that's 9 decades pretty much. And it's really hard in the sense to, what part of the stories do you tell, but don't you tell? And it was hard kind of, this thing could have been 7 hours long. And, and that's one of the things that maybe we skipped over a little bit. But I do think that's kind of a cool element. And there's so many aspects of Betty that it's hard as a filmmaker making those decisions, what to include and what not to include.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. One of the other things that I like so much is the musical selections that you put in play fits so very well for her generation and our generation, meaning that it's just engaging. It engages the story, and it captures it even in a much better way. It brings it to another level, in my personal opinion, just by listening to it while you're going through and talking. So tell me a bit about musical selection. How did you find the music you did? Because like I said, it is point on completely. Oh,
that's awesome. I appreciate that. One of the producers that works on this is our editor, Stephanie Tyson, and she has just had such a great ear for music. And she will spend a mountain of time just kind of finding the right musical and selections to work with, and what kind of theme we want to create, what kind of music element accentuates the story, helps the story. We do spend a great deal of time, and I appreciate you saying that. And I think it's one of those things, hopefully it's seamless, but as a filmmaker, you noticing it is awesome. But I don't think the audience maybe understands how important those selections are and how important music is in telling a story. We do spend a great deal of time working on that. So that's I appreciate you mentioning that. And I know Stephanie, the person that really is the one who really brings us all together. She really is the one that creates that magic.
Oh, absolutely. And I do think that music can be an important component of this. Obviously, the writing itself, because you came up with some wonderful questions for her. I'm curious to ask, so when you sit down with Betty White and you say, hey, Betty, you know what, we're going to talk all about your life story, did she give you direct input and say, okay, you know what, Steve, I don't care what you do, but, do you know what I mean? Like, were there guidelines of certain things where she knew that she wanted things in this film? Does that make sense?
No, there was no, really input. We had an early meeting with her and her team, her agent, her managers, and Kirsten, and we had an early meeting talking about the project, and that was pretty much, we just wanted to get her blessing on it. That's really what we wanted to do, that she would, a lot of people will ask to interview, will call Betty directly and say, hey, Ryan Reynolds, I got a call from Steve. Is this something that you would like us to do or participate in? And so we wanted to get her blessing early on. After that, really, she saw nothing. We actually screened the film at a surprise birthday party for her with 100 of her closest friends. And that was the first time she actually saw anything, was when the film was pretty much complete, and it was at her birthday party. And all she leaned over to me and said after the film, she said, Steve, do you think it's too much Betty White? And I said, no, Betty, people love you. And that was all. And then she said it was like a twinkle in her eye.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, that brings me my other question, which is, of course, obviously, you had premiered it in August of 2018. So tell us a bit about how the premiere went. I mean, what is the feedback that you're getting from fellow audience members in terms of the project itself?
Well, first of all, I think this is like one of these projects that, you better not screw up. This is America's sweetheart. And, so it's like, and that's the intimidation that kind of goes into it. There's nothing worse sometimes as a filmmaker, I find, is like starting with a blank piece of paper. And I'm always intimidated about putting that first note down or that first outline down, that you already start shaping something that, you start a direction. And I'm always kind of nervous about that first scratching of a note, because it's so important sometimes, because it sets your entire direction. So, but I think just along the way the story starts pulling itself together, and it's just being able to be open to, what that story is, and being flexible to the people you're interviewing and what they want to tell you about Betty. So I think generally the actor reaction's been very, very good. And I think probably the only criticism we ever hear is, oh, what about her doing this, or her on this show, or her on this role, or her this guest shot on this program? It's, again, hard to kind of include everything.
Right. Oh, of course. I mean, it's just too ginormica, no other way to put it, clearly. And I noticed that the subjects that you did pick literally have such an adoration and admiration for her, and it's across the generations. You've got some actors in there that are a little bit younger, some that are a little bit older, and they all have this same defining message about her, which I think is so beautiful. And they're also very sincere and very detailed about what they like about her, etc., which is another great thing. You're getting testimonials from people, very believable, and they're very, very, very passionate about how they feel about her, which means they clearly, she has got to be such a, oh my gosh. And the other thing is, she's clearly oblivious of her obvious greatness. Like, literally, she's just this little woman that she's like, I'm just grateful I work. I mean, she literally will say, I'm just grateful that I still get to work in this. She doesn't get it. Like, I don't think she gets she's Betty White, right? Am I wrong here?
No, you're absolutely right. And I'll tell you, she's a cast player. That's her role. That's how she sees herself. She doesn't see herself as a leading lady. She loves being in a cast, whether it's the Mary Tyler Moore cast or Hot in Cleveland or Golden Girls. She loves that kind of cast feeling. And in the film, I think Kirsten articulates the thought that Betty believes that people on television should be more approachable than people on the silver screen. that people on television are invited in people's homes every week, or to be watched. So you have to be approachable when you're in people's homes. When you go to movie theaters, sometimes those stars on the big screen aren't as approachable. She believes, whether she's in an airport or a restaurant, that she has to be open to meeting people and saying hello. But you're right, she doesn't get her fame. She's also a working actress, which also means like she doesn't dwell on what she did yesterday. She's always looking for that next role and the next job and the next project to work on, which keeps her, I think, kind of relevant and fresh all the time. So,
sure, absolutely.
That's Betty.
Oh, that is so cool. Absolutely. Well, and the other thing, too, I want to ask is, okay, so now since you premiered it in August, how many public screenings have you done of the film itself? Outside of tonight, obviously, because we know you're at Wildwood.
Tonight is actually kind of the first film festival we're doing at Wildwood. Yeah, so it's really kind of the first film festival. We're actually going to Madison Film Festival in 2 weeks, but Appleton tonight at 7 o'clock is really the kind of the kickoff of the film festival circuit. So,
oh my God!
Yeah, so we're kind of excited.
Cool.
Yeah, and actually my hometown, so it's kind of bringing the project home. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That is absolutely awesome, without a doubt. Now, before I forget to ask you, of course, so what's on the horizon now? I mean, obviously you're promoting Betty's film, clearly. What do you see in the future? Do you have any projects down the pike, anything exciting with the business you want to tell us, something that's going on, anything for the future we should be looking forward to?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. I really do. We always probably have like 5 or 6 projects in some production form, whether it's pre-production, in production. It's just we're kind of like the leapfrog all the time kind of people and a team. And so we are definitely working on future projects and in this television and early television and entertainers, and obviously other films we're working on too. So, we are a working studio.
That's awesome. Absolutely. Oh, and before I forget, before we get to the business side of things, which is I'm going to tell all of our listeners how they can find you, etc. Number one, as we mentioned, it is playing tonight at the Fox Cities PAC Theater beginning at 7 o'clock. Tickets are $15, and that's at the Wildwood Film Festival. If any of you are looking for additional information on his film as well as all of the other screenings, you can visit www.wildwoodfilmfestival.com. And so that'll be tonight. Obviously, he'll be screening the film and doing a Q&A there tonight, and I'm sad that I'm not able to get there and shake your hand and meet you in person. I have children that are home this evening, so sadly I cannot be there. So that's number one. A couple of quick things that I want to remind everybody, because I keep thinking to myself, one day I'll get to interview Betty White. Do you think I even have a shot here, or should I not even bother? She's on my to-do list. She's on my list. Definitely? Okay, so folks, let me just tell you the things that I do know about her, because you guys have been listening in. Not only does Steve point out the obvious, which is clearly she has been the first to produce a national television show, first female to receive an Emmy nomination, first producer to hire a female director, first star to be in a sitcom. But did you folks know she was born in Oak Park, Illinois, which I think is so cool because I'm in Milwaukee. So she would have been like 2 hours away from me. She's written numerous books, which most people, I don't think they realize. I love that. I love my writers. I have an affinity for actors and filmmakers. But the fact that she's written so much, I don't think most people know. The Hollywood thing, as far as getting the honorary mayor award. But most importantly, she was quite the looker. I think most people don't realize. They see Betty White for what she is right now. But most people don't remember she had this whole life, and she was darling and most sober. I love the singing component, and I'm not going to give it away, but I love the singing, the fact that she had such a beautiful voice years ago, and I think that's just extraordinary. So, yes, if you don't know Betty White, you should know Betty White, without a doubt. So now we've reached that point in the show where I'm going to read off all the places to find you, Steve, so this way people know, and then I'll do the business end of things. For those of you that don't know, his name is Stephen, and the last name is spelled Boettcher. He can be found the website btmediaworks.com. He is on YouTube, IMDb, Facebook, and LinkedIn as well. Obviously, we mentioned the website, www.wildwoodfilmfestival.com. Are there any other places that people might be able to find you, social media-wise?
I'm going to be at the local tavern down the street tonight if they want to swing by. No, I'm kidding. No, not really. I mean, honestly, we're really not really active on a lot of outlets and social media. We're just more like a company that kind of hunkers down, keeps our eyes on the goal and the prize, and so we're not really that in that social media realm as much as we should be.
Well, of course, we'll talk about social media, but you're doing quite well for not being on social media, so kudos to you on that one as far as that goes. Now, just to let you know, when we hang up the phone within about an hour or so, this this episode will become archived, so I will go ahead and make sure that I send a copy off to you. I'm going to send it to the film festival, so it'll go live on there, so folks can go back and listen into the show that we did today, which is great promotion for you and the festival. I'll send you both links via email as far as that goes. Now, the only thing left that we have on my show, and I'm guessing because you are a busy man, you have never heard my show. So if you haven't heard my show, you don't know what's coming, which is I always give my guests surprises, and I always leave them with my impressions of them. Only because most of the audience, I'm a journalist, but I want them to know my personal impressions. And this is the only part of my show that's not scripted, just so you know. So this is just right from the heart. I think it's important that people hear those things. So here we go.
Sweet.
There's only two things that I could think of that I could surprise you with that you've never been given before. So I thought to myself, what could I possibly give to my guest? He's so esteemed. I mean, I'm not the Emmy panel or board, so I can't give you an Emmy, an Oscar, or Grammy, or whatever. So what I can give you is the two things that I'm very good at. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you was if by some chance your beautiful film need an actual formal written review. Because that is one of the many things that I do is I do film review, and I publish them to all sorts of different publications. So I wanted to ask you, do you need a film review?
That would be awesome. I would love that. Yeah, absolutely. How would I not? Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay,
I like
wonderful.
Your
That's
perspective
number
too.
two.
I honestly love the research that you've done. We've done a lot of programs and interviews, and someone that has done the research that you've done, I applaud you. That's really amazing. That's great.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. See, that's my biggest compliment. And now people know me in all these arenas, so when they tell me I do my job as a journalist, I get super, super excited. So that's number one. Number two is you might have heard at the start when I told that I happen to run this absolutely beautiful film festival in New York City that I'm so very proud of. I haven't had the same success that Wildwood and others have in Wisconsin, so I had to move things to New York because I'm going to be a resident there eventually. And so I thought to myself, well, you know, since you are doing the festival circuit, and I'm hoping and praying that you'll say yes, that I have this beautiful festival at the end of July, and it would make my millennium if you would allow me to show your film as a special screening at my festival this year.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Really?
No doubt.
Oh,
would love to be part of it, yeah.
So, yeah, I was hoping to try to do L.A. for Betty because I'm pretty sure Betty could not travel from L.A. to New York City. And I was like, well, you know, a smart person would do it in L.A., but I don't know that I have the time to do it in L.A. But I would absolutely love that. Of course, obviously, I don't know if you can get to New York City to do a Q&A. I'd love to have you. I would love to host you so much. But I'd
love to be there. Let me know when it is. I'd love to be there.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, and I'll send you all the information and such. I just feel like this is something that the New York market hasn't seen, haven't heard about, and I'm here to tell you I would absolutely love that. You know, I'm not going to lie to you. If you call Betty White and told her to go on my show, I will love you forever and give you anything you want, but I'm not that kind of girl. So I'm like, if you talk to her and she's looking for something to do, you know, you can say Cindy's a great journalist, whatever have you. So those are your little surprises. I hope that you absolutely love those. So we're at the last part of the show, which is I'll just tell you what I think about you because I know you're a busy guy and you got to get to Appleton. So, folks, these are my impressions of Steve. Obviously, of course, I had a little less prep than I'm usually comfortable with. Unfortunately, it's kind of got tied together at the last second, which I'm so very grateful for. My gain is having you on my show, and let me just say my impressions of you. First of all, I was highly intimidated because I was watching his interviews and seeing some of the stuff he's done, and he is a highly polished professional as it relates to doing interviews and putting himself together and putting his product out there. So let me just tell you, one of the most delightful things that I found out about you is you're what I call a creative chameleon. A lot of those people come on my show, which is you're not just talented in one area, you're talented in 4 different areas. One of the coolest parts about your project is that you highlight individuals that most of us take for granted that we've all known. You put a very personal spin on someone that's very high profile, and you make them look even 100 times more endearing than they were in the first place. That's number one, a wonderful quality to have. Number 2, you are so Betty White-ish from every standpoint, meaning that I don't think you really realize how incredibly moving and inspiring and mentally stimulating you are. Your projects, your products make people think, they make people feel, they make people realize how remarkable the power that other people have to touch us in film and television, especially in television. That's awesome. Number 3, you have a great working relationship that you've spent years polishing with PBS, and that is not something that happens, and especially not always in Wisconsin. So kudos to you on taking our home state and making us very proud. fourth of all, you're just a very charming, very creative, very, very collective individual. I'm so very blessed that I had this mere amount of time with you. Know that my door on my radio show is open to you at any point in time, and I'm so excited to be able to showcase your work this year. I think that's amazing, and good luck, of course, tonight at Wildwood. I hope everything goes well. Please say hello to Jason for me. And, yeah, don't be a stranger. Please keep me in the loop, and if there's anything I can do to help, I'm here.
Cindy, where do I apply to be a co-host of the program? I just know where can I apply to be your co-host? I'll be your assistant. Just let me know.
Oh, my God, you are too sweet. I think what we should do, honestly, is we should talk about doing a live something somewhere. I would definitely be on board for you and I do something live together. I think that would be awesome because I want my audience to see you. I'm not they don't have Skyping capabilities on Blog Talk Radio, but I wish they did just because I would love to be able to have people see my guests, you know what I mean, especially anybody who's got something this creative going on, and unfortunately they don't get a chance to see you. But if you guys go to Appleton tonight, get your butts to Appleton, go to Wildwood Film Festival, you'll get to see them in person. Now I'm feeling sad that I don't get to see you, but you know what? I did get you on my program, so that's something, of course, certainly. So I'll let you get on the road because I know you got to get up there. Like I said, please, I'll follow up with you afterwards. I'll send you off the link so you've got it, and good luck tonight. I hope you're a sold-out crowd, definitely.
Oh, you're sweet. I'll tell you also, we are always open to talk to young filmmakers or people that want to have a continued conversation. And if they can contact you, I mean, you can certainly give them my contact information, and we're always looking to really help out like that next generation of filmmakers. And we're willing to give away the ideas of the store to them. So we're here for that as well.
Cool. I will definitely do that because I'm all about taking your talents and passing them on to another generation. That's huge. I do teach them all the time. So, yes, I'm sure we'll be collaborating in the future, definitely. So go get off to the festival. I'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you,
have a great day, Steve. Thank you, dear.
You well. You take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Tell me he wasn't fabulous, right? And here I thought to myself, oh, my God, early morning interview. Fabulous. I'm only as good as my absolutely fabulous individuals that come on my show. So one more time, folks. I'm telling you, anywhere in Wisconsin, Appleton is not that far. Fox City's PAC Theater tonight at 7 o'clock. Tickets are $15 for the Friday showings. And, of course, it's www.wildwoodfilmfestival.com. Let Jason and Steve know that I sent you, or just get there, period. There's just such an array of films that are going on, and I kid you not just today, but all day tomorrow on Saturday. They run a Class A production. Please check them out, www.wildwoodfilmfestival.com. And again, one more time, this lovely gentleman's name is Steve Boettcher. It's Boettcher, and he, of course, is collaborator, which is Mike Trinklein, Trinklein, and, of course, the company name is Boettcher and Trinklein TV. Website, btmediaworks.com. He is on Facebook, he is on LinkedIn, he's on YouTube, and he is on IMDb. That should be it for today, folks. I thought we were going to have another interview over the weekend, but it turns out that I've got the weekend off to spend with my wonderful children. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to be on air both Monday and Tuesday of next week, and then, of course, once again, headed right back to the Big Apple, New York City. Thanks so much to everybody who took the time to listen in first thing this morning because I know it's early. I'm off to finish my job here, but you guys have a great day, and tune in on Monday at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. Check the Sins Chat Corner page for details on who we've got up next week.